Think we are going live now. The question is YouTube taking a moment to catch up? Like, is it getting this data? And is it just going to be behind, or is it just going to start like mid-sentence? That is loud as fuck. I never understand why people need their vehicles to be that fucking loud. What do you gain by that? Sending data. It's not really doing much, is it? Let me check. Live streaming isn't available at the moment. You wanna bet? Answer. We are live. Are we live? Now we're live. Okay. Cool. Sure. Why not? Okay. So I said on Tuesday that today we were gonna do some more with this boss fight, but then I thought, what actually is there to do, right? There's making like some more attacks, and there's making a stat sheet for him. I don't think we're actually going to be making more attacks, because I think for now we're going to leave it as is, and I want to see some people fight this dude before I do any more work on him. So I don't think that we want to spend much more time finishing this boss fight. Again, we do need to import the materials for him, which I consistently keep forgetting to do. And that's kind of all there is to it. Making a stat sheet, we can do that. That's going to be like a minute of work. And after that, we don't really have much to do. So the choice today was between doing some things for my Godot project. That mainly being like doing a stream where we just like hang back, chill, and make a couple of sprites. Doing like a little bit of like 2D art, because I suck at it, and that would then enable me on like Saturday or Sunday when I stream that to put some real effort and time toward actual like Godot related development, because we're going to need to have those sprites, because those are the walking sprites for my character, and I want to get those done. So that was an option that I wanted to maybe do today. I don't think we're going to do that unless people watching specifically want to watch me do that today. I'll probably just make those sprites like tomorrow, like in between work or Saturday, and then we stream on Sunday or something like that, because they do waste a lot of time on stream, and we need to get a thing going. So we're not going to be doing that. I think what we're going to be doing is we're just going to kind of hang out in this project and see what we want to do. Where do we need to like improve things? Like, first and foremost, we very much probably should just put this door back where it came from. Because otherwise I'm gonna forget, and it's gonna like end up in the actual build of the game, and it's gonna look like shit. So there we go. Hello, back right at you. I fucking can't see your name. Sarah. Oh, hello. That's a much simpler name than I was expecting. But hello all the same. So we have a lot of like empty stuff, like empty corridors going on here, right? Which we could probably find. We also have a room that we need to introduce here. I was just talking in the Discord about the change I potentially want to make to a part of the game design, because I've been going a little bit back and forth on this. YouTube cut short my name. That does YouTube have a maximum character limit on the name? I'm sure that they do. Never really run into it. So we used to have this thing where in every, well, we still do, in every dungeon you're looking for 3 keys to get access to the boss door, right? 1 key is through a combat trial. For the most part so far there's just been like big mob fights. In some cases that might end up changing into mini bosses if I think that I have like time and creative energy for that, to be honest. Because just the mob fights seem a little boring. I'm not going to do a mini boss probably for every dungeon, but a little bit of variety might be nice. The second one is for a platforming challenge, which I think is actually the thing that is going to end up being the most straightforward to do, because in here somewhere we have, I think it's this room, right? Yeah. So we've got this room where you just kind of jump in between things, and this is not a proper 3D platformer, so it doesn't need to be like very, very difficult, very fancy platformer. It just needs to be like something that is not hitting things with a sword. And then the third one, the final one, initially was going to be gained through puzzles. So if I open up the tutorial levels here, and then let's close the purple world and the red world, just because otherwise my game is gonna lag out. We had, let's see, somewhere down here, yeah, we have like this puzzle right here, and this is like the type of puzzle that you've probably seen a million times. This roof is really, really low. Where if you like stand on this pressure plate, all the ones around it, or only the ones like directly adjacent to it, I think. I don't think the diagonal ones. Maybe, I don't know, will turn on or off, and you need to turn all of them on. That was the basic first puzzle that we had. I was going to have a separate puzzle, a separate type of puzzle for each and every dungeon. So the first dungeon that I was thinking of, I was going to have like this pipe puzzle, where you need to like lead the, like turn pipe segments to connect a beginning and an end. While making that, I kind of thought, well, no, this sucks. It was a pain to make, and I didn't really like it. So that then resulted in... Sorry, just dry mouth. Haven't been drinking enough water today. That then resulted in me thinking, okay, let's get rid of puzzles, and maybe we want to do like mini games, like Mario Party style mini games. But like literally today, I had a different idea, and I don't know if we're going to be doing that right now, because I think I need to sit on this idea a little bit longer. But what if instead of doing mini games, we do like miniature games? If that makes sense, right? That's different from mini games, in that instead of doing the mini game, which is just like Mario Party, press like 2 buttons over and over again and hope that you win. We do a like microcosm of an actual game genre. And the reason that I was thinking about this, and of course the moment that is what I was watching before, the moment I start streaming, people message me for work-related stuff. Well, that's tough fucking luck for them. The reason I was thinking about this is because of Kingdom Hearts Recoded. So let me look up a little bit of footage from that game. Gameplay. Because in that game, what we have, this is a full playthrough, I think. Yeah, I think it is. So that's the wrong tab fucking again. Nobody wants to watch Harry Potter trivia on my stream. Do you? We can do that if you want to. So yeah, we've got Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which just generally is, this first part is just cutscenes. What the actual fuck? So for the most part, like, this is just a action RPG on the Nintendo DS, right? So we have like a little bit of platforming, and then we have like a little bit of just bashing a giant key into enemies. And this is somewhat similar to my game, obviously, because Kingdom Hearts is one of the inspirations for it, together with like Dark Souls. But at the end of each given world, you get a special level, and it's not in this video, I don't think. Let's go to Traverse Town. I think this might show what I mean fairly well. So yeah, here we have like normal action RPG gameplay, and then that's probably the next part. Let's keep moving. At some point we're gonna get somewhere, surely. Surely. How long does it take to beat one world in a Kingdom Hearts game? Jeez. Anyway, okay, here we go. So this is like the first proper world, and the final dungeon of which is a 2D side-scroller. This is still very like action RPG-ish, but this is a 2D side-scrolling level. So it changes up the gameplay entirely, and this is partly because originally this was a mobile game, and I'm not talking like a smartphone game, I'm talking like a BlackBerry game. It's really old. And the end of each chapter just wanted to give you something special, presumably. And then it got ported to the Nintendo DS, and that kind of quirk stuck a little bit. But this is, frankly, one of the reasons that I think that this specific Kingdom Hearts game is massively underrated. Because it's kind of like the usual Kingdom Hearts action RPG shenanigans, but there's also a little bit of like genre meshing going on. And I think that is very, very interesting. I always like it when a game just stops being itself and starts being something entirely different just for like a minute, right? For instance, there's a part in the Stanley Parable where it just turns into Minecraft for a second. I always really like that. So I was thinking we can do something similar for like that third key in all of our dungeons. Just to give you a bit of an example, we then go into like Wonderland, right? And then I think like we have, this is probably the end of Wonderland. Somewhere around here, I would assume. That goes into Olympus Colosseum. Yeah, so then Wonderland, the second world here, is like an on-rails shooter or something, right? This is like an entirely different type of a game. It just kind of exists as the boss fight for this game or for this world. And then Olympus Colosseum itself is like a turn-based RPG suddenly, which is really fucking weird. But when you get into a battle, it's a turn-based RPG. So I was thinking maybe we can do something like that, where every single world has one of those key challenges, and that just turns the game into another genre for like 5 minutes. So I had the idea that maybe we can do like one world, we have a twin-stick shooter segment. Mostly because I already have a twin-stick shooter like basic framework setup, because that is what I made for my C++ tutorial series. So I can just reuse that code for the most part and just adapt it to my own systems. Can entirely be removed from like gameplay ability probably. Maybe not, we'll see. So that is definitely a thought, right? And I can even add some like wacky post-processing to like visually differentiate them as well. I think we can do a lot of fun stuff with that. But again, I need to sit on that a little bit more and think about that a little bit more before we actually start like diving into that, because I don't think that I should just blindly start developing shit. I don't think that's necessarily the best idea ever. Where is the rest of this level? We're just going to ignore that for a moment. So let's close these two levels, or worlds, or dungeons, or whatever you want to call them. So I think today we're just going to kind of walk through the existing levels in this purple dungeon, and just see where stuff is like very obviously missing, where things don't work, and we'll just kind of figure out where to go from there. So we're going to be using save slot 2 for that, because that starts us off in this central hub. And that was the longest introduction to any stream ever, I'm aware. I just talked for 15 minutes. I think that's what a lot of this stream is going to end up being, if I'm being real with you. Because I don't really have any direction to go into today. Immediately we have a bug. That didn't take very long at all. I think the bug is actually going to get resolved here. I think the bug is to do with it didn't get resolved. Okay. Get set actor rotation. Okay, something is going wrong with play basic attack animation. Okay, we've got something to do. Wonderful. Great. So yeah, As you can see, we now have 2 of these doors lit up because we've got blockouts for 2 of the worlds, and then we've got all that is still dark. So still a lot of work to be done. Let's mute that. At least like for echoing purposes. So yeah, I think it is... I don't know if it is just generally getting hit by that rune attack, or if it is to do with having a... Like, I was trying to dash. Yeah, that just straight up doesn't damage me. So that's one issue to take care of. I also think I at some point want to improve the AI for my normal enemies, because there's this thing where the normal enemies are just kind of like wandering around randomly until they see you, at which point they start attacking you. Oh, this is really annoying. Except this guy runs away from you, which actually is more interesting, right? But those normal, like, basic enemies, they just kind of randomly wander about, and I think I should be giving them some more intelligent, behavior for when they are passive. Also, that's definitely not supposed to be there. Because just picking a random spot to walk to and walking to it and then just kind of hanging out is, I don't think, the most interesting thing. But for that, I think we need to have more like environmental like assets. For instance, we have these guys, and I think for these guys it can be... I think the knockback's just not working. I think the knockback's just not working. The entire, like, damaging thing is not working. Yeah, I changed something about... Okay, yeah, I changed something about the... applying damage last time. I don't remember what it was, but yeah. Anyway, let's get back to what I was talking about. We've got these guys, and for these guys are going to get replaced anyway, because these are only for the first dungeon. And for them, it's fine. But like this guy, for instance, when he's just passively walking around, he probably should be like seeking out magical stuff, because he's like a magical shaman dude, and we need to give him like a little bit more personality and a little bit more character. Also probably should make him just a tiny bit bigger now that I think about it. So I'm thinking, if we have some more environmental contacts, because at this point, like, what even is this, right? We've got these things, and then we've got these steps up, and that leads to like for a level blockout, it's fine, because it does what it needs to do, but there's like no actual context as to what any of this actually is. And once we have more of that, we can start saying, okay, but this guy is maybe going back and forth between a cauldron and a bookcase and a like ingredient rack, and he's trying to like make a potion. So he's actually like doing a thing, and we can like program that into his AI tree for its like passive state. As long as he's not in combat with the player, he's trying to make this thing, and maybe making that thing heals him or gives him a power boost or whatever, something like that. I think that's going to help a lot with making these characters feel, number one, more unique, because in combat they're all fairly similar at the moment. I'm trying to give them all somewhat unique abilities. This guy had that rune attack that he does, and he has the like little lightning trail that he does. This guy just literally hits you. But this guy also just literally hits you with a different animation. I think they literally run on the same behavior tree, these two. Just executing a different animation. Then we've got these flying fuckers. I don't even want to talk about them. But that's kind of all we have, right? That's kind of like... And again, it's fine for these guys to be fairly basic, because these specifically are going to show up throughout the entire game. They're going to be everywhere. But I think I want my characters to have a little bit more like personality to them. In here, it doesn't matter, because here they're always all just going to be aggressive, trying to give you just a bad time. So it's fine if they, like, things that only show up in these combat challenges, they don't need to have like very convincing like passive behavior. But I do think that we want to maybe work on something like that. There's a couple of ways we could go about doing that. We could just give them points of interest that they either randomly or in order go through. Or we could do something a little bit more sophisticated and like almost Sims-like, where they have like desires and they can query the world around them for things that fulfill those desires. That would be the over-engineered way to do it. But that would also be really, really cool. And I'm going to be real with you, that's probably very good go to have for like a reusable perspective. Because you can reuse that for any NPC at any point. So what do we think? Do we want to make a simple point of interest system, or do we want to over-engineer the ever-loving hell out of this and make a like needs and wants based system? Does anybody have an opinion on that one way or the other? I don't think I can do polls, can I? Well, there's 4 people watching. That's not going to be a relevant poll anyway. I think the most logical thing to do might be to start with a point of interest system, and we can always like upgrade from there. I think that might make the most sense to do. Yeah, point of interest can be used for both. Yeah, point of interest can be used for both. It is, I think for what I need it for, is good enough. Like a Sims-based system would be more dynamic and would lead to maybe sometimes slightly more unpredictable behavior. I've never actually seen the ceiling of this room. It doesn't get any light, so this actually looks kind of neat. Wow. Which means that it might do something that you're not expecting it to do, which goes toward it feeling more realistic. Like the way, the way a sim works at a very like basic level is that it has like a meter of energy, and when that meter of energy gets too low, it goes to bed. It has a hygiene meter, and when that gets too low, it goes and takes a shower. And all those values have their own like weights as to what is more important. So if both energy and hygiene are at the same value, it will probably choose to go to sleep. Then when it wakes up, its energy is replenished, but then its hygiene will be low. So then after waking up, it will go take a shower, and then it'll probably be hungry. So it goes take something to eat. Hunger will probably be fairly high up on that hierarchy. I don't know if my NPCs need that, though. I don't think they do. The reason I'm thinking about this is because I have had this idea for a different game for a while now, and we talked about this a little bit in the Discord a moment ago. A game that I want to make in the future that is going to require this, because I want the characters in that to behave very like naturalistically, meaning that if they are hungry, they're going to seek out food. To the point where like if it rains, I want them to also like seek out trees so that they huddle under trees when it's raining, that kind of stuff, right? I don't think we need that here. So let's go for a point of interest system, I think. Depends on your pain tolerance. My pain tolerance is, I would say, from a programming perspective, relatively high because I'm stubborn. And once I start doing something, I generally keep going until I have a implementation. Maybe not the implementation that I initially set out to do, but until I have something that gets me sort of close to the initial output ID. Let's say it like that. So yeah, what I'm thinking is for this game, I'll probably make a point of interest system first, and then from there, yeah, let's do that. So how are we gonna do that though? I guess what we're gonna do is just in the enemy base class, I'm just gonna add an actor array for points of interest, and I'm just going to cycle through those. Yes, let's do that. So we make a yeah, there's gonna be a U property, category freaking I don't care, AI, and this will be a T array, class a actor, points of, let's try to keep with the new naming convention that I'm trying to use, points of interest. Cheap viewers on Get Fucked. Add block list in restream chat. Can I not like block you from Twitch itself? I don't know, I don't care. So now we just have that point of interest task. And I think we already have something like pick random. Let's just open up one of the behavior trees for these guys. Like this guy. My brain is not entirely working today. I clicked on it and I entirely forgot what I was going to do. But I do think that it'll be fun to make like a sim-like behavior. Partly because it'll be fun to create, it'll be a fun little challenge. So maybe at some point after we finish the Godot streams, I will just make like as a side project a little Sims-like game. Because that also seems like, after I've made it, it seems like a good information base to like make a mini tutorial series of as well. Then again, anytime I say a mini series, it ends up being like 5 hours long. So I don't know. This is let's see, this is the patrol state that we have, right? So we check whether or not it is at its current target location. If so, we clear the blackboard key, and we wait a certain amount of time. Otherwise, we check whether or not patrol location is set to begin with, and we move to that patrol location. So that also works out fine. If it is not set, we set patrol location to blackboard key patrol location, and I think that's just a C++ function that we have, right? Can I fucking open that? Maybe not. In that case, it's going to be in here somewhere. Is it find patrol location? Yeah, it's find patrol location. So what this does is it gets the AI controller, gets the blackboard component, it makes a location value, it casts to enemy. If enemy is true, location equals spawner get actor location. If it has a spawner, and if it doesn't have a spawner, it just gets the actor's location. So it gets the spawner location or the actor location, depending on which is relevant. Then it makes a patrol location. It gets the U nav system v1 nav system get current this whatever, and then we get a random reachable point in radius in this world around the location to the patrol, and it's going to set the patrol location with a range of 5,000 units. and then we set that as the patrol location value. Okay, so what we're going to do instead is we're not going to delete this code yet, I don't think. We're going to let's comment it out. Let's comment it out. Everything up until here we want to keep. So, like, this stuff we are going to need. Then we also need a slightly modified version of this later on. But we are going to comment this out as well. And then let's copy this up here and label this as old code probably deletes later. Okay, so now we have to find that patrol location, and the way we do that is we want to also in our enemy, that's enemy CPP, in our enemy.h, maybe don't make a lot of noise that side. We also want to, and this should be, hold on, that shouldn't be protected. I think we probably want to make that public. Yeah, let's make that public. Because what we're going to do is, let's also just make an integer for current point of interest. That's just going to be the index. And now we need to think about how we're actually going to do this. I guess what we do is after we cast to enemy, we first check if enemy... No. We first check if enemy is valid. But what we're actually going to do is we're just going to early return this. So if it's not valid, we return failed. Which actually doesn't need the brackets. So let's just write it like this. There we go. Then we make the patrol location, and we want to get that patrol location as enemy points of interest, current point of interest, get actor location. Yes. And then we pretty much just keep this code because this gets a random reachable point in radius around that actor. So we don't want them to actually like end up on top of that actor. We just want them to walk somewhat into that direction. And that will then set our new patrol location. And after we set that new patrol location, we do want to also increase the points of interest counter before we return. So we get enemy points of interest. It's a bad name for the variable, anyway. Does that do what I want it to do? Enemy points of interest +1. This might do what I want it to do. But I'm going to write it in my own way anyway. because what I was going to do is... Now, because I need to set it back to 0 as well. Does this do that as well? Like, this is modulo, right? Or is there something else? That's what I'm not sure about, so we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to increase that. And then we check if that is greater or equal to num. We set it back to 0. That makes sense to me, I think. Yes. Now, I also actually, I want to have a possibility of it picking them at random instead. So, U property, edit anywhere, blueprint or rewrite, sure. Bool, pick random. By default should be not true, false. And then we're going to make two different functions for this. So, void, pick random location. I don't think we need any of this stuff. And then void, pick next location. We can just split that up into two different thingamajigs. It'll be a little bit easier to work with. At least a little bit easier to see. So we do all of this anyway. We do everything up until here. But then we copy this into pick next location. And here we check if pick random, we pick random location, else we pick next location. And pick random location should be really easy, right? Because that's just, what the fuck are you talking about? No. Let's just copy this over. So we've got our patrol location is enemy points of interest, int, point of interest index. Random and range 0 to num -1. Yes, so we pick this instead. And then we don't need to increment this. Yeah, that's all there is to it. So now we also have the possibility of doing it randomly. So I think that is, I think that's it. I am going to real quick check the message about work, because if it is important, I might need to at least respond to it. So let me real quick disable my display capture just so I can read it. Yeah, that's not important at all. That is just somebody else sucking at planning and making it my problem. Find patrol location had a blueprint rewrite should not be on private members. You know what? You know what? That's fair. Except that we can make this. What was it again? Something like private access. We don't need to blueprint rewrite this, actually. What the fuck am I talking about? There's just something Copilot throw in there for no reason. That's not necessary at all. Enemy undeclared identifier. I don't think so. No, I don't think that it is. Is it? Oh, it might be. Yes, it probably is actually. Is it? Yes, it is. Yeah. So what's happening here is that I'm making this value. But that only exists within the scope of this function, right? So any function called inside, like inside that, this is an entirely different scope. So enemy doesn't exist here. So it's trying to get stuff out of enemy. But it doesn't have access to that because it doesn't exist within that scope. It's easy to fix up though. We just give that a parameter for enemy. Both of them. And then we need to go into the declaration and also give them that parameter there. And then we simply just pass through the enemy pointer. And that'll fix everything. Except that we need to do the same thing with location, I think. And Blackboard component. But do we really need location? Like, what are we even doing with location? Hold on. Location is... We can just make that in both of those, right? I don't want to be throwing that casting into both functions. We might as well, though. We can just do this. I mean, that works. Just forget what this location actually does. Are we even setting this at any point anymore? I don't think we are. What were we doing before here? So we had location equal enemy spawner or whatever. And then that would be get random. So what do these parameters actually do? Hold on. The origin position and the random location. And a radius. So origin is just the position of where it's currently at, right? I think. So that would just be enemy get actor location. Presumably. Question. What would happen if I can just Google this. I was going to ask what would happen if I try to move to a place outside of the nav mesh. I guess that would mean that we never reach it. And that's why we're using that random reachable point, right? Let's get rid of random reachable point. Because I'm thinking we might not need that anymore. I think we can just get the patrol location from the points of interest. And then just make sure that the whatchamacallit? The acceptance radius is big enough to like accept things that are maybe slightly out of radius. We also should just maybe make sure that things that we have as points of interest are just inside the nav mesh, and that's probably also a good idea. Basically, in ChatGPT and ask it to make you a C++ fix for it. Well, it doesn't need to be fixed, I just need to understand it. Which, to be fair, ChatGPT could also do that. ChatGPT sucks at Unreal specific functions though. Like, it hallucinates them all the time. It's really not great at them. Then again, if you push something like into ChatGPT, it's generally better at doing it, but when it has to come up with stuff on its own, it just hallucinates like to no end. It's actually kind of funny. Oh yeah, BB comp is still not defined. Sure. Do we actually need that? Yes, we do. No, we don't. No, we don't. Instead of making these voids, what we can do is we can make these f vector as a return type. And in here as well, just make them f vectors instead of voids. And then at the very end we return patrol location. And then in here, what we do is we make a f vector location. And we just set that location equal to either one of those functions. ChatGPT is pretty good at analyzing code. It's just specifically like it's training data very clearly, and this is probably a testament to the fact that Unreal's documentation sucks. Like its training data doesn't seem to include all that much useful information about Unreal, and what it does include sometimes is kind of outdated, which again makes sense because it's training data, and because of the fact that Unreal's undergone a couple of changes in the last couple of years. So when you ask it something about Unreal, it just makes shit up, because unlike with Unity, or even Godot, potentially, I don't know how well it knows Godot, I know that it knows Unity a lot better, because for all the things that I like more about Unreal, Unity's documentation is about 1,000,000 times better than what Epic has. Like, Epic's documentation on Unreal is actually kind of laughably sad. And I think ChatGPT reflects that. And training data is 3 years old for ChatGPT 3 and 1 year old for GPT-4. I think that is definitely part of it. I think GPT-4 also has internet access, doesn't it? So it could look things up, like current information, if it needs to. I believe. Not positive on that, because I think like Bing's ChatGPT can for sure. So I'm assuming ChatGPT 4 itself can as well. Did I compile this yet? So GPT-4 might be better at doing that, but I also think that GPT-4, I only really use GPT-4 when I want to generate images, because frankly, for the most part, I don't think that it performs that much better with text. Like, it performs better, but not better to the point where I'm like, yes, I'm going to use like some of the limited amounts of interaction I can have with this guy within a time window on text. Maybe I should do it a little bit more. Maybe that would help. Anyway. So we've got this thing now, and we've got the find patrol location, pick random, let's say no for the basic daemon. Oh, that probably, no, that probably, should that be on the behavior tree or should I put that on the, I should probably put that on the enemy, shouldn't I? Yeah, that's true. We can at least look at the Unreal source code, unlike Unity, which is obfuscated. So that is a good point. I am going to change this though, because I just realized that yes, that does make more sense to be on the enemy class. U property, get category, AI, patrol, random, learn to type, and then in here somewhere, instead of checking this, we should be checking our enemy patrol random. There we go. But it don't update train itself based on internet searches. We can be very glad about that because we would have had like full-on Ultron moment already if it did. I think this scary day will lose control. I think they're more so scared that it will just break itself because have you seen the internet? I think they want to be a little bit more selective as to like what it trains on, because if it just trains on random internet stuff, it's likely, number one, it's going to train off of its own output, which it already accidentally is doing sometimes. And AI's training off of their own output is how you break down an AI. It fucks with it real bad. And if you just indiscriminately let it roam the internet and train off of that, it's probably just going to get very incoherent very quickly. I'm just here to say hello. Hello. Hello back! Hello back to you as well. Yeah, so this probably doesn't need to have that, but what we then do want to have happen is... Oh, this is probably gonna suck for a moment. I just realized. This is probably gonna suck real bad. Why is this guy in the middle of an animation? What even? Okay, sure. So if we look for the patrol random and points of interest, we don't get points of interest. Did I not make that a U property? Did I make that default only? Yes, that's default only. That definitely needs to be added anywhere. I want gameplay tags in Blackboard keys. You kinda can do that. As in, a gameplay tag needs to have an object that it is applied to. So what you probably would do, if you want to do that, is make a component that holds a tag container. Make a Blackboard key object reference to that component. And then you effectively have a Blackboard key pointing to a tag container. And then you can like make all your shit to like pass through tags to that. It's a little iffy, I'll admit, because it's not actually on the blackboard, right? You have it then on the actual physical component. And now that I think about it, maybe gameplay tags need to specifically be applied to actors. No, because gameplay ability system component itself can hold tags as well. So they can definitely apply to components. Anyway. You need a converter based on a string or a name variable. Oh, that's to do with the gameplay. Yeah. That's also a way you can do that, which makes a little bit more sense, I suppose. But that feels like it is asking for trouble, to be honest with you. Okay, so this guy is now going to go through, walk to this lantern post. Except that this lantern post is in a different streaming level, so let's actually move these finally into the proper level. Because these guys have just been hanging out in the void in the persistent level for a hot minute. These all need to move into one opening room. Move selected actors to level. For some reason that's freezing my engine. That's not good. It's a very bad sign. Well, at least it gives us a chance to properly compile this shit. Which is going to take a minute. And with a minute I mean 11 seconds. It's not that bad. With a streaming level in mind, what's the difference between data layers and a streaming level? I honestly am not sure. Because I've not really used data layers that much. So I couldn't really tell you. I can skip restore those. I can Google real quick. Unreal data layers. We'll petition add data layers. It's seems that data layers, and this is probably the reason that I haven't worked with it, is mostly something you use in open world maps, maybe? Data layers are layers, like Photoshop. You can use them for keeping details or swap out large scenery pieces. Primarily they can be used for multiple people to add scenes simultaneously. For example, you could have layers for the buildings, one for foliage, one for clouds. Each person can work on its own without worrying for it to need to be synced. This would require good level blocking. Streaming levels, on the other hand, are just regular levels that come in and out of existence based on a player's location to keep memory usage down. So it seems like the idea is that layers are mostly a workflow thing and not necessarily meant to load things in and out, is what Reddit tells me, and Reddit is always right, so that's probably it. It kind of also seems like that is mostly the only context in which I generally see data layers brought up is to do with like open world maps, which is why I haven't really dived into it yet, because I'm still trying to figure all that stuff out, because like, obviously I have my hands full on this stuff right here, and this is entirely working on streaming levels, so but at some point I'll need to figure out open world in Unreal as well, and at that point I'll probably dive deeper into it, but for now that's pretty much all I got. So let's try again, this time without breaking, hopefully. Move selected actors into level. There we go. Okay, let's try again. This dude. Points of interest. Let's add like 3 of them. The first one gonna be this thing. Second one is gonna be... This could be interesting actually, because I just realized I could potentially put a... no, because it does it based on location. I was going to say, I could potentially put one enemy as a point of interest to another enemy. But they don't like follow the live location. They just like sample the location at the moment that the behavior tree asks, hey, find me a new location. Still could be interesting, but not as interesting as I thought it was going to be. So I also want to know Number one, let's save everything. Because what happens when an enemy doesn't have any points of interest set? Because I'm expecting that to crash the game. Because it's going to try to load the location of an actor reference that it doesn't have. Yes, okay. That makes sense. This shouldn't ever happen, to be clear. And I am a very big fan of the idea that there's no communication to you as a developer that is more clear than letting your shit crash, right? If there's something that shouldn't happen at all anyway, having it crash your engine is not that big a deal because you're going to need to fix it anyway. And if something crashes in your face, at least you're going to be aware that something is bad. Many people will disagree with this for very good reasons, but I do think that that has some value to it. Now, something that can be like player caused definitely should never cause a crash, to be clear. But I do think I want to build in a little bit of protection against this because that doesn't seem that good. So we want to check before we do any of this, like if enemy is not equal, is not valid. We want to return failed, but we also want to check if enemy points of interest num is equal to 0, then we also want to return failed, so that it doesn't do any of this shit. Which will make it get stuck in an infinite loop of trying to find things here, but that doesn't really matter that much. I know data layers can access actors that are not visible. There's 3 states: active, loaded, unloaded. You can toggle them in runtime, so I don't see the benefits of using streaming levels, but I don't know not much about streaming levels. I don't know much about data layers, but from like the 2 seconds of research that I did, it seems like they're not meant to be used that way, but if they can, I guess, sure, go ahead. I don't know if they... streaming level definitely is an older system. Like, data layers is relatively new, I'm pretty sure. The only thing that you really want to look into is if turning on and off those data layers can be done asynchronously. Because if you can't asynchronously load and unload those data layers, you don't want to use that. Like, that's good for loading in one enemy maybe. But if you're going to be doing this like on entire levels, or like entire like sub levels, you don't want that happening on a main game thread. That's the only thing that I would say make sure about. But aside from that, I don't know. It's probably fine to do it either way, I would say. Like, I guess the upside to streaming levels is that I can open any of these streaming levels just as a level on its own. And I do that mainly personally for like making renders of the levels for YouTube videos. Just like putting in the camera, moving the camera a little bit, rendering out that specific level. Because the persistent level fucks with like adding the UI and shit like that. I don't want that in my renders, obviously. So it can be kind of nice to just say, hey, we're in this persistent level where I always work, because that's just like what I like to do. But you very much can just like go into levels here, and I can say, let's go into purple level. What's a recognizable one? Combat trial. Like, we can just open up this one, and now we literally only have this one level existing, right? Nothing else exists. There's a couple of things out here that for some reason exist in this level. They probably shouldn't. So that is a upside as well, I guess. I personally never do that, but that's a thing you can do. But I guess if you just have data layers and you just turn everything off. But then again, the same applies for this, right? I can just turn off the levels when I'm not working on them as well. Which is what I do, because I prefer being able to just fly around, go over here, turn that on, turn that off, whatever. Okay, let's test this shit out. You still have your points of interest? Probably should actually just scroll down and see where it is located in this entire fucking stash. Probably have like an actor, general, miscellaneous, all, streaming, rendering, physics, movement, miscellaneous. It's got to be in general. It's under AI. Where is AI? Nowhere. Oh, because I'm just in general. Current enemy base. It's probably in a section somewhere in here, I would imagine. Right? I've decided I don't care. You still have your points of interest. The other ones have no points of interest. Let's see if the game crashes again. But streaming levels are probably better for teams working on different parts on the same app. I don't think that they are. I think that is specifically what data layers are good for. Okay, so you walk to right over there. And you're going to beat up your friend for a moment. Because it doesn't seem like he's moving on to the next one, I'm not gonna lie. I know he's supposed to like, wait 2 to 4 seconds. But I don't think the code is properly doing what it should be doing. So, okay, what is happening here, I know what is happening here, is that he's trying to move to location, but it's not, yeah, so this is at location, which needs a bigger acceptance radius. So let's put this at like 250. Probably could be a better way to do that. Okay, so you walk over there, you wait a moment. I'm just gonna hang out here because you won't be able to see me, hopefully, here. Let's see. Specifically, I want to monitor. It's a good question. Which one do I want to monitor? Which one is this? It's Basic Demon 2. So I think that is this one, right? Yes. Okay, so it does actually say that he is at location. Patrol location is not set. So it does this, but that doesn't do anything. It does it for like a split second. Okay, Then what we're going to do is we're going to check you. Never mind, I don't actually have a way to view the value that I want to view here, I don't think. Okay, so pick next location is what is running. And this should be... Okay, what I'm going to do... Yes, you can. I'm going to blow your mind a little bit more. I was going to take a bathroom break. If you don't know that you can pick which enemy you're previewing in here through that menu, I'm likely about to break your mind. Because you can do the same thing with animation blueprints. So if I go into this character mesh here, and I try to like open its animation class. So we have like the animation blueprint here. You can do the exact same thing with this. I'm going to just like put these open side by side. Because for some reason I figured out that AI thing like a while ago, like a long time ago by now. And I only figured out that you could also do this with animation blueprints like a month ago or something like that. It's actually kind of embarrassing how long it took me. But you can do the exact same thing with this. So now that we have like a couple of instances of that thing loaded, I can say, if I just make this thing bigger, preview instance, any of these I can now select. So I can say, actually I want to follow 2, which is the default here. Maybe I want to follow number 6 or whatever, like whatever this one is. I wish you could just select it like that, but yeah, you can also do it for animation blueprints, which is kind of nice. Okay, so now I'm going to take a bathroom break, and when we come back, we're going to try to figure out what the fuck is going on. And there we are. Can we do this in NPC blueprints also? I need to check. I imagine so, yes. Good question. Oh my god, it's also there. Fuck, this was a golden stream tip. Thank you so much. Okay. I wasn't aware that you also could do it in blueprint. I figured so as much, but that's actually a good thing to keep in mind. And also, legitimately, a reason that debugging blueprint would be easier than debugging C++. Because, of course, like, you can put in breakpoints and stuff in C++, but you don't have that visual flow of, okay, this is happening, like this is the choices he makes. Aside from the fact that Recompiling a blueprint is just faster than C++ recompiling. Okay, so how are we fucking this up? Is my question. Because... Wait, what the fuck even is this line of code? Who thought this was a fucking good idea? We're setting the current point of interest equal to the current point of interest plus plus. What? You might think, oh, but that should still... No, plus plus only increments after this line finishes. So only on the next line does this have the value of plus 1. So we're just setting it to the same value? And then incrementing it? But even then, the next go around, it should have been incremented. I don't know. We're just going to get rid of this line here because this is fucking insane. I don't know what that was. But I think that's going to fix our issue. Because that line of code was actually just straight up psychotic. You see, Copilot, good stuff. Until it's not. You see, and that fixes the issue. Now it moves over to that other thing over there. Which just feels like he's walking with more purpose, right? He's going to wait there, and then he's going to be moving to the next point of interest. In theory. Anytime now. Anytime now. Okay, so that didn't really improve matters that much. Let's take a look at him. Why is he trying to... Oh, no, he's been blocked out of that. He's trying to move to a patrol location. I guess... This is just not triggering? Because he's slightly too far away from it still? If we just move you ever so slightly closer by force... I promise you, you are within 250 units of this thing now. Unless your patrol location... No, because you're moving towards your patrol location, so why wouldn't... Oh, you're not even moving. You are not even moving anymore. Why not? What the hell? Looks stuck, it was 2-3 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to only wait for like 2.5 to 4.5 seconds. So, definitely something stuck there. The weird thing is that he also, like, he's stuck in his move to location state, but he's not moving to the location that he should be moving to. So let's reset him real quick. And then get out of his field of view and get hit. Why does that work now? That didn't work a moment ago. That's weird. Anyway, we're out of his field of view now, which should make him wait around for a second. He's just not able to move. What's that rotating AI camera feature? That is me being an idiot, is what that is. That is a really sloppy way of like this is like actually really bad. Like don't program this way. There's a really sloppy way of programming this attack. So when I do this attack, the view changes to the enemy that I'm attacking. And every enemy in the game just has a camera always rotating around them that I can like, change the view target to. I should not be doing it this way. You should not do it that way. That's like it's really bad. It's not bad for performance necessarily, because a camera that's not active doesn't render anything, doesn't like take any extra performance away. But it is an extra component that is constantly being updated on every enemy that exists, which is just a mess. What I should be doing is when I do that attack, I should create a specific actor with a camera on the enemy that I'm attacking instead. Which also then gets destroyed when the attack finishes. That would be a much better way of doing it. But I haven't really gone through and changed that yet. So at the moment, every single enemy in the game has a camera of their own. The one upside that I'll say that this system does have is that if I like scale an actor, it scales the camera with it, which like can be quite nice in a way. But that's like. Try to remove the collision on the poles. That is not a bad idea. But the thing is, right, this one is bigger, and it did a good job on this one. So it should also be able to do the smaller one. But maybe the nav mesh is doing some weird stuff, because it does seem like the nav mesh somehow gets up close to this one and this one. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just increase the acceptance radius to 500, because that should be enough. But I think the issue is that it, for some reason, just stops being able to move. But after this, we'll try to remove the collision, because that's also a good idea. Cool feature though, can make the player component swapping the camera snapping to the enemy. I don't think that you can move components between actors that easily. Maybe you can. I don't know. I don't think you can. I think a component like very specifically belongs to the actor that it exists on. Yeah, because those get added through construction, so I'm pretty sure that you can just move those. So yeah, that is still having the same issue. Why? What the hell? That's not what I wanted to do at all. We want to check number 2. Okay, this is stuck in move to patrol location. It is setting a random in navigational radius though. No, it's not. No, it's not. I removed that code. Does not do that anymore. So, different idea. Let's make this a sequence. Instead of doing it this way, we just find patrol location, move to patrol location, and then clear patrol location. Because this setup was, I don't know why I ended up doing it this way instead of I think what might be happening, yeah, so what, that might be what is happening. Okay, yeah, so what might be happening here is that this move 2 has a different acceptance radius than I had here. I think that is what is causing the issue there, maybe. Still doesn't make a lot of sense why the first move 2 does work. But I think I should just try to make a system that does this. Do we have a clear blackboard key just like that? No. I guess we can just like kind of put that on a selector, right? Can we? Like, does that do anything? Like, I think this will just execute that selector. We probably should make that into a task. Oh no, it needs to wait anyway. No, never mind. It needs to wait anyway. So we can just put that there. I think this makes more sense anyway, to do it this way. Because this, whenever we get like inside here, we'll still abort this entire sequence. Which I think had something to do with the fact that I wasn't using a sequence, because sometimes like breaking out of a sequence can be a pain. But if something higher on the priority aborts, it'll abort the entire sequence. So that shouldn't be a problem. So maybe it'll work now. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, walk to the second pool. Just gonna hang out there for like a couple of seconds. So there's more than a couple of seconds. Okay. What even? Let's reopen. The BT asset for this guy. I want to check for number 2. I don't think we need those decorators anymore either. We don't. Do we need to check? No, we don't need to check this. We always know that this is going to happen in this order anyway. So we find patrol location. So we don't really need to clear the blackboard key to begin with anymore, I don't think. Because this is never going to happen without this running first, because now they're in a sequence. Yeah. You see, sometimes reworking stuff to actually just straight up simplify it, don't overcomplicate it, it's probably like a better way to do things. Press and then num4 to see in-game behavior. In-game. Oh, that's actually really nice. So you say this key and then numpad 4? Oh, okay. So it's working now. It's just going back and forth between the first two. It's not going to the third. But it is working now. So I fixed that. But why is it not going to the third? That's probably just a flaw in my logic. It does have a third, right? Like points of interest, then post 6. So what it's probably doing is it's incrementing. So let's just go through this. The first time we are here, this is 0.0, so it patrols to 0.0. It increases this. It checks whether or not it's higher than num, which would be 3. Right. So after the first time it's going to be 1, after the second time it's going to be 2. So it cannot be just greater than none. Because that's going to fuck me up as well. I feel like this is the issue. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Because again, no, first time through, 0 gets upgraded to 1. That's 1 gets upgraded to 2. That's 2 gets upgraded to 3. And when it gets upgraded to 3, now that does make sense. It goes through here before it can go through again and actually take the value out of the third index. But there is no index 3 is the thing. Maybe it's just my brain not working. I think this is the solution. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, I'm gonna fucking kill that chicken one of these days. I'm gonna eat it. Yeah, so this should fix that, I think. Maybe. Oh, it could also be the little like star icon. It's not doing that much. Yeah, you see, this is that's an issue. Because now it's trying to get number 3 out of 3. So that, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. My god, I hate that fucking thing. I've been living here for like 2 years, and for somehow that thing still has not fucking died. How long do chickens live? Answer is shorter when I'm nearby. Shut the fuck. It did shut up now that we're talking about eating it, so I don't know. Never mind. It's back at it again. Yeah, so, okay, what the fuck is going on here? This doesn't make sense. So, if enemy current point of interest is greater than or equal to enemy.num. Enemy.num gives you the number back, right? So that is 3. In this case. So that means if current point of interest is 3, which means that it is bigger than any index existing, we should set it back to 0. So why does it set it back to 0 after index 2? I don't know. We're just going to compile it again, and it's going to magically work now, and I'm not going to have any idea why. Until you eat them. Which usually is about like 6 months, right? But this is like not a meat chicken. This is I want to have a pet chicken. In like a residential area. Because I'm weird. It's not entirely fair. We used to have like a little pan of chickens at my parents' house when I lived there. And it's really nice having your own chickens, actually. With like just a daily dose. Well, not quite daily. It's like 5 or 6 times a week they lay an egg. And if you have like 3 of them, that means that you're so fucking swimming in eggs, it's insane. And if you know what you're doing, you can feed them table scraps, which is really, really nice as well, because you don't have to throw anything out. It's actually like very, like, both economical and good for the environment to have chickens. It's just, that's not a chicken, that's a rooster. And that is the part that I don't understand, because roosters don't fucking lay eggs. So why do you have a rooster? Well, not exactly free, because you do still need to like feed the chicken. Like the chicken needs to not die in order to lay eggs. It needs to be healthy as well. Like barely alive chickens also don't make eggs, so you need to care for it relatively well at least. Make sure that they have like the proper feed so that the eggshells don't become too thin and stuff like that. They need to have like the proper amount of, I think it's protein in the diet, which is pretty easy to get, to be honest, but still. Okay, let's check whether or not that fixed my shit, reverting to the code that we had a moment ago. But yeah, that's the thing that I don't get, right? I get having chickens. Having chickens is good. It's fun. It's nice. For the eggs. Why in the world would you... Like, the only reason to have a rooster is to, like, have fertilized eggs. To make chicks. For the love of God, do not do that in a neighborhood. If you're going to do that, fucking buy a farm. Which I know is expensive. It's not something you just kind of do on a whim, right? You don't just randomly buy a farm. Am I just going insane? Did I just put the same object in there twice? No, I definitely didn't. I definitely did not. And winter heater is probably super expensive if you don't isolate the hen. Well, it kind of depends on where you live, I suppose. Like, on a global scale, we live up pretty high, I would argue, like pretty north. So like the winters here do sometimes go down to like between like -5 and -10 Celsius. Sometimes we have like insanity and it goes a little bit lower, but like -10 is usually about where it ends. And like at that temperature, you don't let them outside, like because they are stupid animals and they will go outside and they will die. But if you just like stuff, I was going to say stuff them full of hay, which might work. But if you just kind of like stuff their like living quarters full of hay, you don't need electrical heating for the most part. Because like the hay will just insulate it for you, effectively. And if you have like 3 or 4 chickens in a relatively reasonable amount of space, their body heat will be able to just like produce enough heat, and the hay will be able to insulate that well enough to the point where they will be fine. Now, still, installing some electric heating is probably a better idea for like the comfort of the animals. Here in Thailand, in my neighborhood, at the previous house, we had 4 roosters. That's fighting. So sport throws it up the wall. I can imagine. Oh man, I hate roosters. Anyway, we were trying to like troubleshoot a code thing, weren't we? Yeah, I honestly don't understand what the issue is. Like, am I increasing this value twice somehow? What could be causing the issue here? Because we're just going to U-log this. Log current point of interest. Let's see what happens when we log that. Neutron, thanks for the super tip. You have a good one. But it is kind of a all over the place stream anyway, right? Honestly, like if I didn't, I'm actively trying to stick to my streaming schedule and not like chicken out, when I don't feel like it. Today I wasn't really like in a good mood, in a great headspace to be streaming, so I kind of figured that it was going to be a clusterfuck. And it is, but it's a clusterfuck in which I'm having fun so far, so that's good. But I'm like tired and ever so slightly overworked at the moment. Which is mostly something that I do to myself. Okay. You. Point of interest. I think okay, so point of interest 2. After that, it's going to... It ran it twice. It ran it twice. Why did it run it twice? What in the actual fuck happens to make it run twice? Okay, so it goes to 1, which is 0. Then it goes to 2, which is 1. And then it's going to go 3 and then immediately back to 1. Like in one tick. What is causing that? That is weird. That is really kind of weird. I was expecting a lot of weird stuff. That is the one thing that I definitely was not expecting. Like, yeah, the acceptance radius here is just 5, so that was definitely part of the problem before. How in the world? What? Find patrol location tasks. Okay, so what happens here? So it does increase it twice. It runs this twice. It has to be running this twice. Why is it running this twice? I'm going to do something that seems stupid. I'm just going to do this. Return patrol location. And after that has been well returned, so I pick next location, then we're going to set this value to its new stuff. And we need to make sure that we have everything like indented at least somewhat properly. This shouldn't make a difference, to be very clear. This should not make a difference. But it fucking might. So we'll see. I do wonder what Twitch is up to at the moment. It doesn't really work that way, eh? Never mind then. Okay, again. For all intents and purposes, this should behave the same. But I'm hoping that it doesn't. But I'm also kind of hoping that it does, because if this behaves differently, there's something that I fundamentally seem to misunderstand about functions and inlining. Okay, point of interest 1. Great. It goes to 2. Great. It gets to 2. Fantastic. 3-1. Why? 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 Why the fuck would it do that? Like skull post 6 is like this one, right? There's no way that it's already inside of its... It's this one. There's no way that's already inside of its acceptance radius. So that's definitely not it. What if just for shits and giggles we do make it something else, so we tell it to go the fuck over there instead, just as a test? This again should behave the same still. I think. Well, I'm stuck in midair now, but let's worry about that later. Yeah, so it's still going just back and forth, I think. Yes. Again, we're going to ignore that for now. So what I think must be happening, but that doesn't make sense. Hold on. What I think must be happening is somehow it runs this task. Now, that doesn't even make sense because it's in this sequence. It runs this task. It tries to move to its tutorial location, but somehow the blackboard key isn't updated yet immediately after running this task. Then it waits, and then it gets back to this, so it runs it twice in a row. But it runs it like twice within a tick. So it can't loop around its entire sequence within that time, because there's a waiting node in this sequence. So it's literally executing this code twice. So something, okay, so something else must be happening. It must be getting aborted and then running again for some reason. What can abort this? Gameplay tag condition. Attack or stunned. Can abort those. I don't think that's going to do it. Can see player. Can abort that. Within a certain distance of the player, can abort that. And revenge counter is greater than, can abort that. None of that seems relevant. I'm going to disconnect this specific, how do you disconnect again? I think like alt click, yeah. I'm going to disconnect the checking out for the player. Because that might be doing something weird where it just about sees him and then it doesn't and whatever. So let's make sure that that's not aborting and rerunning anything. It would also be really weird that it consistently does that at the end of its array. So I very much doubt that that's the case. And it also allows me to like more close up, just hang out here and see what happens. Yeah. Oh. It does the same fucking thing. So it's 3, 1, 2, and then 3, 1, right? Immediately 3 and 1 back to back. Why does it do that? Why does it do that? Just for testing purposes, I'm going to put in an extra wait node here, just to see if that... Well, maybe just wait for 1 second. Just to see if that does anything. Again, this wouldn't be a good fix, but it will at least give me a direction to look into. Looking at what time it is right now, I'm going to have to prepare you guys for the idea that we're probably not going to find the issue in today's stream. Anyway, okay, so I've got point of interest 1. He goes there. Point of interest 2. He's going there. 3. 1. There was more time between them. I feel like that wasn't an entire second, but that's beside the point. Or is it? I don't know if it is. Man. You know, the one thing that I haven't done this entire fucking time is just look at the behavior tree in real time. Maybe we should do that. If troubleshooting something, maybe that's not a bad place to start. I think this is probably the wrong instance that we're looking at. Yeah, we want to be looking at this instance. So he's moving to. And now he's waiting. Okay, that is kind of weird what happened there. Let's go through that again. He moves to a patrol location. He's gonna wait there. It did fire this twice. I was right about that, but I still don't know why. So he waits there. So for some reason, it seems like when it tries to start move patrol location, that fails. Let's see if it updates. This. It does update it to the proper value once, but it just won't let it move to there. Why not? The issue is definitely with move too. Huh. Yeah, let's get rid of that waiting now because I don't think that's doing too much. Allow strafe. I don't know that we necessarily want that, but let's just see if putting both of those to true changes anything. I don't think that it will, but it might. Okay, so it's moving to location 2. And 3 and 1. Okay, so the next question is it specifically something to do with that location? Or is it, does it just not work altogether? No, it doesn't work altogether because it, when I change this, it also didn't work. So there's something about all this that doesn't work. Why? What the fucking hell? Oh my god. So yeah, it is the move to node that is failing. I am fairly confident, because what will happen, I think, is when a node in a sequence fails, it's not going to execute the rest of the sequence, it's just going to go back to the root. So for some reason... I've got a question. I've got a question that I should have tried out a long time ago. Does it just only ever work for the first two, or does it just not work for the last one? It's probably a question that I could have, should have, would have taken a look into a lot earlier. Hey, how about you shut the fuck up? Who the fuck calls someone unprompted at like 8:30 p.m.? Let me rephrase. That's entirely fine, calling somebody unprompted at 8:30 p.m. This is a spam call. Like if it's someone I know, if it's someone in my contacts, that's fine. If it's just a random phone number, why the fuck are you calling me this late in the evening? Is it log in C++ broken in the right place? It is after increasing point of interest, but if you see 3, it would change to 0. In reality, you see 1. Wait, what the fuck? What happened there? I wasn't paying attention, I was reading chat. What the... It still does skip number... It just skips number 3. Why did it just skip number 3? It also failed to go back to number 1, I believe. Because number 1 is all the way back there. Or index 0 or whatever. So yeah, it gets stuck on there. And it just gives up. Which is kind of fucked. But then it goes to number 2. And then just going to go like 3. Nope, we're going to go to 4. Yeah, 3, 4. What the fuck? I kind of just did this to confirm that it skips the last one, but this is a million times more weird. Is it a log in C++ located in the right place? I mean, that's... was probably relevant when you asked it, but that's definitely not what we're looking into it anymore now that we've seen this, because this doesn't make any fucking sense. What? How does that make any sense? What the what? Move directly to word, maybe? I think this is just a moves AI pawn towards specified location vector, blackboard in a straight line, without regard for navigation system. That's definitely not what we want. Which also brings me to why the fuck... let's just add back in my move to location, the default one. Anything that I changed. I don't think I changed anything except for allow strafe and observe blackboard value. Allow strafe might be a thing that is kind of messing with me, but aside from that, I should just walk around that pool as well. I don't know, there's a lot of things going really weird. Must be shy of number 3. Apparently so. It skips number 3 altogether. Why? Why would it do that? It does at least make its way back to number 1 now. That is... Or does it get stuck in that fucking pool again? Because again, you're supposed to be like intelligent here. Artificial intelligence. You're supposed to be able to walk around. What is wrong with you? Unless I am screaming at you for no reason. But like Skull Post 2 is this one, right? Yeah, you're supposed to be walking the way back here. If I just pull this one a little bit aside, you'll be able to walk back. Because you're just that damn stupid. I don't think this is something that I can fix easily within, like, within this code. Which, you know what is the funniest damn thing? We're 2 hours into this stream. The first half an hour was just me hanging out. We've had about an hour and a half of working on this. If we'd just gone with the simulation method, it probably would have been quite, well, not done, but quite, like, far into it by now. Yeah, you see, now he makes it all the way back to 1, so he just too fucking stupid and gets stuck on it. He just skips number 3. I gotta double check if there's something weird in my code that would cause that to fail. If enemy points of interest number is equals to 0, that also fails it. That can't be it. Because it's not even like it's skipping the first or the last one, it's specifically skipping number 3. Like, can we... Is empty. Let's try that instead. I'm fairly certain that it's not this task that is failing though. I'm fairly certain that, yeah, because if this fails, it doesn't even increase the current index. This is a better way of doing it, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't even increase the index if this fails, because it never gets to that point. So that definitely is not the problem. I know what the problem is. It is not the number 3. It's not the number 3. It's not the number 3. I figured it out, I think. What is happening is that specifically this motherfucker is just below the surface, so it can't get to it. So that task fails because it immediately sees, hey, that's outside my nav mesh. And I'm gonna fuck off. It's specifically that object, I think. So we definitely need to build in something for if it can't reach that. I'm telling you, that's what it is. And if that's not what it is, I'm gonna... I don't know, I'll go kill that chicken. Okay, that chicken is dying. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna do this slightly differently. What we will do instead is, and this is why I didn't want to throw out that other code. I feel like the issue still is that it's trying to navigate to a point that it knows that it can't navigate to. So what we'll do is the patrol location. We'll use the random navigable point in radius bullshit. And we'll just set that to like a value of like 500 or something. So it will get the enemy location, get actor location. It will set the patrol location. Hold on. No, we want to point location actually. And then we want to make another F vector patrol location, which we're going to be setting, and then returning. So now it will always pick something that is a navigable point in a radius of 500 units. Hopefully that'll fix that. What is the fastest way to clamp one gameplay attribute with another one, e.g. clamping health to max health? It depends. I'm assuming that you're like that. That needs a little bit more context. I'm assuming that you're working with something like a calculation class, like a execution calculation, or even a modifier magnitude calculation. In which case, just get both of them and clamp one to the other before returning. Which actually I think might only work in execution calculation. Yeah, clamping values is kind of a bitch. Specifically with gas. Well, yeah. That's the only context in which you're going to be using gameplay attributes. I mean, like within gameplay ability, there's still like you could be trying to do this in like 5 different places. Or in 5 different ways. Like you could just make a gameplay effect that does that, for instance. That just takes in the max health and the health and clamps it. Or you could be wanting to do it in a specific execution calculation. I don't think there's a convenient way to just do it from like the drop-down menus in a random gameplay effect, though. So essentially, there is also the idea that you can give an attribute a max value, but you need to implement that yourself, and I don't think that's worth it. I think Epic should just get its shit together and implement that feature. Instead of just saying, oh, we started it, you can finish it. Which is kind of like half of what gameplay ability system is, unfortunately. I saw there is an on-gameplay attribute change task. I thought I would just checking what the end result is on lower back, it goes down above. Sure if that's a bad idea. I mean, that works. That should work, yeah. Just whenever that fires, just run a gameplay effect that checks its current value and against the max value, and if it's higher, just set it back. I don't know if you can set... That's the thing, right? Because you might be able to just set it directly. I don't know if you can set values on attribute directly without using a gameplay effect, to be honest. You might be able to, which would make this a lot easier to do. I haven't really tested that. I probably should. Okay. let's test out whether or not this thing still fucks up. So it goes to point number 2. Then it hangs out for a moment. Then it goes to point number 3. We fucking fixed it. Not exactly in the way I would have liked, but... Oh, and there's also like way too big of a... yeah, so that acceptance radius, or that radius of 500 is a bit too much, I think. Let's set that down to like 100. And also set the focus to that. So pick next location. I think we have like an AI controller or something. Yeah, we've got the controller. So after we pick next location, we controller. Well, you could also do that. Set focus, something like that. Focus. Set focus. There we go. Yeah, so that should also then just make you rotate, or make the enemy rotate toward what they're walking to. So even though we're going to be at a random reachable point in its radius, which is going to be a little fucked sometimes maybe, it's still going to be looking toward it. Is the idea. Now I don't think at any point do we set its focus back to the player, so this is going to be probably a little bit weird. But we'll have to check it out. Yeah, so its walking animation is really fucking weird. Because it's getting rotated, but it still moves in a straight line. For this, I think it kind of works. Kind of, not really. Oh, now it's gonna get stuck on something again, isn't it? Because it's just that dumb. Yep. I think it is. Just gets stuck and it decides, you know what, fuck it. I'm not gonna move back to my original point. The fact that it does that is like absolutely insane. Like, what even is this Nav Max for if it's just going to walk only in very straight lines? Yeah, so I don't think the set focus is really doing what it needs to be doing. It just makes it look more ugly, to be honest with you. Set focus is a nice thing to have as a task and not a static inside of another task. Yeah. Kinda, but like that's still like that doesn't solve the fact that it doesn't do what I wanted to do here. But again, what is the fucking point of having this whole like navigation system if it just moves in straight lines and when it runs into something it just kind of gives the fuck up? What is the point? EQS calculation is the key to prevent straight lines all the time. It's really not, though. That is about making a choice about where to move, not how to move. Because if I use EQS, like I can make something probably where it's like following a path to a certain location at all times, but that would be first and foremost probably pretty expensive to calculate, especially for like every enemy at once. It's not what the system is meant to be used for, I don't think. Maybe there's a difference between BT move to, then Blueprint move to location, and AI move to location. So, if we go into like this behavior tree, right? We have like move to and move directly toward. Moving directly toward is moving AI pawn towards specified actor or location, blackboard entry in a straight line without regard for a navigation system. If you need your AI to navigate, use move to instead. So that's what I'm using here. But it's still just going in straight lines and running into shit. So it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Reach test includes agent radius. EKS also gets the fastest route, then also traces for collision and recalculate. Yeah, okay, but that's what the nav mesh system itself should be doing. Like if I have like let's move somewhere else real quick for me to round. If I go over here, for instance, right? This enemy should be moving toward here and then around here if it wants to get to here, instead of just going up there and deciding, you know what, I don't feel like it, and stopping. Because again, otherwise, like if your nav mesh navigation system doesn't do that, you just have the move directly to function. That is what the nav mesh is there for. It's just getting stuck, I guess. Which is weird. But I can try maybe just making this capsule a little bit thinner. It probably could do with being a little bit thinner. That's going to make it a little bit more difficult to hit as well, but let's do this one thing at a time and just see if this changes or fixes anything. First and foremost, I want to check whether or not it reflects in here. I think it does, yeah. Let's see if that for some reason changes things, because it might think that it's like the radius for the nav actor is smaller for some reason. For like the navigation agent is smaller than the actual like collision for the actor. I was always under the impression that those two things are linked together for character blueprints, but they might not be. In which case I just need to find where that is set up and how to increase that value. The nav agent size maybe, exactly. That is my current ID as well. Okay, but at least if you use a temporary blueprint move to location, you can debug track from actor destination. That is true. I think I had a similar issue with dynamic obstacles for the... Okay, let's check this out. Yeah, you see, now he moves around it in an arc, which is what he's supposed to be doing. It's still a little bit of a weird arc, so it feels like he just changes locations all the way through, but it's not supposed to go through a non-navigation area. Strange. Yeah. Well, I don't think, and that's I think the issue, right? I don't think it's going through a non-navigation area. I think it's trying to go through a navigation area, running into some collision that exists there, and just giving up when it collides with something. Let's follow him a little bit more closely. Not that closely though. Yeah, so now for some reason he does decide to, hey, I'm going to move to here. And then we're going to change directions when that is actually in view. So that is what it's supposed to do. And I don't know why that changed it. No. God damn it, fuck. Okay, hold on. I gotta dry this up real quick before it breaks anything. We had that short that I still haven't thrown in the laundry basket that I can use to clean up this water spill real quick before it drips down to my PC. I mean, my PC is liquid cooled, to be fair, but I don't think you really want to be putting water into the PC like this. I don't think your computer generally likes that. Now it really needs to go into laundry. Okay, so let's just increase this back up a little bit. I think it was 81 before. Let's increase this to like 70 or 65. Was it 81 before? Because that, in retrospect, seems ridiculously large to begin with. So let's give it a shot. I'm gonna fucking murder you because you are annoying as shit. But I also want to keep an eye out on that dude over there. So is there any function, I should check this out, is there any function that gets you a reachable point that is not that random? Like I might have to find that myself. Yeah, so now it does that again, and I still don't actually fully understand why it does that, because that's still not how I think that's supposed to work, but it works now, so fine. That is how it's supposed to work, right? It's supposed to like kind of slide around it. So why in the world it's doing a weird little like triangle move there is also kind of throwing me. Maybe you could sphere cast in a direction and use a random point from the sphere location. So the thing is, what I want to do is I want to get... if my character is here and the point that he's supposed to walk to is here, I want to get... effectively, I want to get like this point, right? I want to get a location in between the current location and the location that he's supposed to move to. But I want to get a location where I can be sure that it's navigable. So I kind of want to get rid of the randomness. It's not that I want to make the randomness. I want to get a fairly specific spot, but make it so, and I don't even know how this would work, right? But make it so that the spot it picks is inside of the nav mesh, which now that I say it, sounds like a nightmare to make, so it probably doesn't exist. That's, yeah, so that seems like probably something like an EQS kind of thing. Yeah, because with EQS you can say, like, this is a hotspot, and this is a hotspot. And just, like, generate a bunch of points around here. Yeah, so generate points around here in a circle, and it will only generate points that are in the nav mesh, and then pick the point that is the closest to the character. Yeah, so that's probably the way to do that with EQS. That makes the most sense. So yeah, I'm gonna have to think this through a little bit. Maybe we could trace backwards from a point toward the character cast down, see if it's valid location for the AI. Yeah, so that is the question, right? I think EQS is probably a better and more performant way to do it. But that is the question. Can I like line trace and get whether or not something is a viable nav mesh location? Or the point that is closest and not colliding with anything else? Well, that's the thing, right? EQS will only generate points where there's a nav mesh. So if it's colliding with something else already, like unless it's colliding with something that's not a nav mesh blocker, but I don't think EQS is going to have a good time interacting with things that are not nav mesh blockers. So that's probably that should be built into EQS, is what I'm saying. Is if we have like a wall here, for instance, and my character is on this, just as an example, real quick, if we if I put in a cube in here, for instance, and we make that cube a little bit bigger, right, and my character is here, the EQS is not going to generate the points around here because it's not going to be inside the nav mesh. It might try to generate them here, depending on how you set it up. So at that point, like the closest point is going to be here. That is the beauty of what EQS does. So it should just take care of that for me. EQS has its reachable check. That's also a good thing to keep in mind, yeah. The random you have is working. Yeah, but I don't want it to be random. That is the issue. I've got it working now that it is random, but I don't want it to be random. I want it to be... like, I want it to be deterministic. So that's probably an EQS thing. Is valid AI location maybe? That seems like a promising thing, but I think I'm gonna go with EQS. I'm not gonna do it today because we've been live for 2.5 hours. But that seems like something fun to check out next time. But yeah, I think talking through this with the options that we've like gone through here, I think EQS makes the most sense because like it just does a lot of shit for you, and it's relatively easy to work with. Like to the point where if I don't want to add something else onto it that might influence, like if I... just saying something, right? If I want to have him patrol to this location, the closest to him, but then also want to have him be influenced by the player location, so that he moves to the closest position to him that is also the furthest away from the player. Like with EQS, I can easily like weight those things and say that the player is here, and he usually would be moving here, but now he's going to be moving a little bit like further along the circle, so that he's going to end up like right here or even right there. That will be trivial to add if I use the EQS instead of like hard coding my own like line trace whatever system, which is probably then going to end up being more costly anyway than just using EQS. And I like using EQS. I use EQS for like this guy, for instance, and it's a very simple implementation. But where most of the characters, when you get close enough to them, they're just like, or when they see you, they're just like, okay, I'm walking toward you now. That little guy is supposed to be like a ranged attacker, right? So when you get close to him, he runs the fuck away from you. So he always tries to find the furthest point that he can navigate to from the player. But then when he's a certain distance away, and he's reached that point, like he feels safe and he can start attacking me again. So right here, like I'm a certain distance away from him, he's looking away, so he's not going to be seeing me, and he's not going to be moving because of what I just did. But yeah, he always runs away from you, which is like a very basic but nice implementation of the EQS thing. And if we go to his like BT asset, it is really simple. Like somewhere in here we have, I don't even know what the fuck, like why is this a sequence with only one thing in it? I don't know. Yeah, we probably should update that as well. Like somewhere in here we have, yeah, move to flee location. This just runs an EQS on a regular basis, and what it does is it just like gets the distance to the player and just ranks things, and it just picks the thing that is let's see, so yeah, it creates a grid with a grid size of 800, so the points are 800 units apart. Or no, they're 200 units apart, but they are 800 by 800 around him. And it tries to find the single best item, which is the thing with the highest score. So that's the thing with the highest distance to the player. So the thing that is the furthest away from the player. And that context, literally all that it does is it just gets and returns to player character. It's just that simple. You can do like much more intricate stuff with this, which I think we're gonna do next week. I think that'll be a fun little thing to work on. I use EQS to determine my AI, determine whether they want to pick up loot based on quality preferences. Yeah, it's great. I like really doing that kind of thing, and the simulation based, like the movement that I talked about, like more or less The Sims. I probably would have done something EQS related as well, although maybe not actually, because that is not specifically, like maybe that is a little too complicated for that. But that very much could have been an EQS thing, right? Where it samples. Can EQS sample objects around itself or only points? It probably can sample objects as well, right? So it can just check in a radius around itself for the thing that it needs the most. So it probably would have just kind of like ran more or less entirely on EQS. Which might have in the end made my life easier with all the bullshit that we've had to go through today. But the basic idea of a point of interest navigation system works now, which I think will... It'll also allow me to do more other fun things. Because what it will allow me to do now with a point of interest system is make enemies that are effectively unkillable and add in like a stealth section where I can just program this guy to go from location A to location B to location C in like a loop, effectively. And have the player like navigate around that a little bit. Which might be a fun thing to add in somewhere. So, yeah. I use it to collect resources. Yeah, so it can sample actors as well, right? So it can say, hey, get all actors in. Well, you probably like within the context, right? You can. You've got provide single actor, but then you've also got like provide actor set. Yes. So that's actor career. So then the actor itself needs to grab the nearby objects and pull that through to this return node. So you just like do a sphere overlap and grab everything and stuff it in here, I think then, right? Which you can do entirely in here, I should point out. You can just like overlap or like sphere, like overlap actors. And then the location can just be like the get actor location. And then the out actors can just go into there, and that's how you get all those. Yeah. And you can filter specifically on like items in that case. And on specific collision channels and so on and so forth. And then if you do that, you can then presumably like read variables from those, right? Because you like test mode. In this case it's distance, but that's because I actor of class. If I do actor of class, it's been a while since I've played with this, so BP third person character. Data binding. How would I get arbitrary data out of a certain actor class to use in here for like weighting? This can all from a normal trace. Yeah, I get that, but this, like, just doing a sphere overlap is easier than like doing a weird like sphere trace if you don't need to like trace anything. If you just want to get things around you, just doing a sphere overlap is easier and cheaper. Right click to add that. Oh, you add tests. That is what you probably do, right? And then you can make your own tests. I assume. So we're just going to figure this out real quick. Like test. Can I figure out... This is a distance to Korea. Distance dot products. You can check gameplay tags. Overlap, pathfinding batch, projects. Is it project or projects? Trace or volume. Let's look for EQS. Real quick, Google this. Right now I'm interested. Unreal EQS custom test. It seems like maybe Environment query test. Seems like maybe that's a C++ only thing, which is fine. Where I always misspell query. Yeah, so we've got query node, query generator, query filter. But if I were to make a new C++ class, it will allow me to do that, which is fucked. But if I just say like test now, it will allow me to, I think, environment query test. Yeah, so now I can make an environment query test. So that's a C++ only thing. Okay, I mean, that's fine. But I think that is something that we're going to need to... Well, we probably don't need to for what we're doing right here, to be fair. But that is interesting, because I would have figured that this is pretty, like, base stuff that everybody wants to have access to, not only C++ developers. Yeah, it looks like the correct one, but it's some time since I did this part. Yeah, same for me. I don't think I've ever made a custom test, to be honest with you. Seems kind of fucked that you can only do that in C++. I would have probably done it in C++ anyway, but it's just surprising. However, it's not possible in Blueprint, and I can't find any documentation on how to achieve it in C++. Thank you for responding. Yes, I've tried this. I didn't know how to start coding my own test to expose functions and variables in Blueprint. Thanks for a helpful link like this. I'm used to the EQS system, still a beginner in C++. So yeah, they're just telling him learn C++, get good. I think I did it in Blueprint, but I accessed it from another section. I don't think you made a test then, if I'm being honest. Because everything I'm finding about it very much is indeed about C++. Like, you can make your own like your own whatever. What's your face? Stuff? Context. That's the word I was looking for. Like, you can make your own context in Blueprint, like this one, right? You can probably get away with quite a lot of this instead of using tests. But if you then want to get like arbitrary data off of the actors that you sample, that is the thing that I want to figure out. So maybe there's another way to do that though. Maybe that's not done through tests necessarily. Unreal EQS get data of actors, something like that. Get variable from actor. That's probably more what people are looking for. Filtering in EQS for variables on actors. Going to check within something similar. Never mind, misread the document, was hoping to generate a set of contexts. How to get a variable from actor in list of objects. Yeah, I'm going to have to dive a little bit deeper into this, I think. Maybe it's something to do with like the data binding thing? Like what does this data binding thing do? Does it have a tooltip? Provider for dynamic data binding. That does not help. But I'm assuming that data binding can then query params, random number. So if I try to make a data binding, is that what I can do? Like data binding? Nope. Binding? Definitely can't make that. The search actor class is BP third person character, so I should be able to then like use that in some way, right? Why else would I be able to? Why else would you need me to supply the class instead of just assuming that's an actor if I can't use the data out of that? Unless like this context allows you to add variables. Yeah, I didn't think so. So generate a grid around the courier. That's fine. And then this test is distance to player contact. I think in order to actually work with this, you're going to need to make your own tests to actually make this work properly. Like specifically if you want to gameplay tags. I mean, that is interesting. To be fair, that is interesting. So I guess what you can do is in the context filter on stuff, but you can't actually like pass that stuff through to then use as a value in your EQS stuff itself. So we generate a bunch of points. But would we? Yeah, no, I don't think you would need to make a test for that actually, now that I think about it. Because what you would do is you probably would make a context instead. And what you would do is you would like make a context which gets everything within a certain radius. Inside of that context, it filters it on, hey, are you beyond a certain value, yes or no? And only then does it filter it through. And then you can use like the distance values from that with like normal testing related stuff. Because everything here has to do with positional information. Trying to get stuff that is not positional information shouldn't actually even be relevant. Right? But then again, you would assume that you can use this system for something like, hey, you enemy that is a healer, move toward the enemy close to you with the lowest amount of HP to go heal him. That seems like a thing that you should be able to do with this, and that is like non-positional data that it needs to take into account. And you wouldn't just want to filter that, right? You would want all enemies to go through, and you want to like weigh their distance, but also their current health, or rather the amount of health that they have lost. You want to be able to weigh that, and from that, yeah. So that's what, yeah. I'm trying to just work this out in my head, right? So you want to be able to say, we've got like our EQS actor, and then we've got like a couple actors around here. You want to weigh, okay, this one is at like 20% health, but it's pretty close. But this one is at 5% health, but it's pretty far away. So, like, how do you weigh that? And it needs to make a choice based on that. So the points around this guy are going to need to get more like hotspot to it. In the test that tests for health, which is going to need to be a custom test. So that gets me back to, you need to make a custom test for this. Right? I mean, we can try the trace thing, but that is just, like, that's a geometry trace. That's just a line trace. That doesn't get you like arbitrary data. From your actor, from your context. And those contacts can only push through positional or actor data. I need to look into what these data bindings are, because these data bindings might be what we're looking for. Like query params, it allows you defining single parameters for running a query, which are not tied to any specific pawn, but defined for the query execution. Yeah, so that I honestly have no idea what that even means. But I guess we can get like parameter by name or something like that, and then know that this is the name that we're looking for. But that's still the other way around, right? That's other stuff that can access information about this scoring factor instead of this score being able to be calculated off of specific information on that class. Then nothing changes when I change the context. So how can you... What other filter types are there? Now there is filter score. Where are you looking? Like, we've got filter here. That's probably not what you're referring to. Up here we've got filter, score, or filter and score. But that's just whether or not to like filter out objects, or whether to apply score to those objects, or those points rather. Yeah, test purpose. That is also not related to any of this. I mean, this is pathfind. Let's see overlap. Yeah, that's all positional stuff as well. I'm fairly certain you need to make a custom test to get this information. Maybe in volume. Let's just add everything to this just to check. Like volume context. We can add the player, but again, I don't think that's really going to do much. Yeah, and this is just how to generate points, right? An actor of class. Hold on, maybe generate a set of actors of actor around query. I don't think this is it either. Composite, what even is this? Oh, that allows you to add multiple generators. That is kind of neat. But yeah, all these is just like at current location, at certain actors. This is just where to generate the points. So it's good to know that there's a composite for that. I wasn't quite aware of that. Or only the perceived actors. That's also kind of nice. Probably could be like a context. But yeah, so I think the way to do this is to make a custom test if you want to like test on arbitrary data, and we'll need to figure that out. But again, I don't think we need to figure it out for what I'm trying to do here. So it's just general curiosity. I know I did pool data. If you figure out how you did that, please do let me know. But I think you might have been like, I think you might have been using like data inside here, like inside of a context, instead of using data to score things. Because I think at this point we've gone through every menu, and that just doesn't seem to be possible. So you might have been able to like filter in here based on, hey, does X actor have like a certain value on this variable, and only pass them through for like filtering and scoring after that. That seems to be the most likely, to be honest. And maybe I'm missing something still, but I'm starting to think that I'm like relatively confident in the idea that this is a C++ function. But I'm just going, over the next weekend, I'm going to watch some more EQS related content to see if this is a thing that is possible through Blueprint. If nothing else, to understand things a little bit more. But yeah, if you do find something, please do post it in the Discord, because I would be very eager to learn about that. EQS filter on member variables of selected actor class. Let's see. For anyone interested, this can be solved with a custom EQS generator. The new blueprint extend from generator blueprint base and override the function. Okay, so there is maybe something that we can do here. Again, I really need to get going because I do have work tomorrow. Generator blueprint base. Let's just make one real quick. New blueprint, that's fine. We've got a couple of overridable functions. Do item generation. And do item generation from actors. You don't seem to be returning anything, so that's not a good start. Override the function do item generation. Here's an example of how I add only those to the results that are free. Has capacity equals true. So yeah, there's another way of just filtering and not scoring. Like you can like add generated actor or vector, but that just again adds it to the things that is then used to test things on. So yeah, I don't think that that's necessarily what we want to be doing. But that was almost promising. That's good to know that that exists. I still don't exactly know what it does, but it's good to know that it exists. Yeah, we're gonna end it there for now. Because it's been 3 hours now. It was interesting to play around with it a little bit. Let's see if I fucked anything up. I don't think so. So yeah, next time we're going to again, for what we're going to do, we're going to not even need that, right? Because all that we need is to just generate a circle or a donut around this and get the point on that donut that is the closest to the enemy and just use that. So we don't even need to do like custom calculation bullshit. We just need to do something relatively simple, which is what we're going to be doing next time, and then we'll see where we go from there. It's probably going to be another messy stream because whatever. I'll be back on a Tuesday. Oh no, I'll probably be back this weekend actually with the Godot project. I think I talked about this in the Discord, but for anybody who isn't in the Discord but does watch these things, if you're 3 hours into this, if you're watching this as like a VOD, do join the Discord. Clearly, you tolerate me enough for that. But the idea was that I was going to finish the Godot game and like edit it into a video and make sure that I could get everything done for the devlog of June, which is always like devlogs go up the first Monday of every month. That's just not going to be feasible. Like even if I rushed very hard, did a lot of streaming, and didn't touch my Unreal project, I probably still wouldn't have enough time to actually edit that video down. With like 10 hours of streaming a week or something. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to push that back a month, and we're just going to do like those somewhat longer streams, like 4 to 6 hours once a week on the weekends for a couple of weeks. And the reason mainly is that I'm making all the art myself, and that just takes a while. I'm getting used to a new engine, and it just takes a while. So we're going to be back this weekend. I'm going to try to stick to it being a Sunday thing, but sometimes I have other things happening on Sunday because I have like a life, at which point it'll be on Saturday or the other way around. So yeah, I'll be back this weekend with some more Godot stuff. See you later, everyone.